on to episode 9, Shark Attack Case Files. So just before we kick off with this video, just got a new sound set up here. Somebody mentioned the poor sound quality, so maybe an improvement here. But saying that, someone mentioned I should improve my English, but my first language is not actually English. So what is my first language? It's science, if anything. Anyway, let's kick off. Where are we going? Straighten this up. So we're going to go, to the Adriatic Sea. So we know where the Adriatic Sea is. This area of water here, which is in between Italy and the Balkan states. So these are the Balkan states: Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro, Albania, Slovenia, Kosovo, Serbia, Romania, and we're going to go to Croatia. So we're going to be looking at a spate of attacks that happened during the 1970s. So there was numerous attacks that took place in the 1970s in Croatia, and for such a small area, it's insane how many attacks occurred. And there's a number of reasons for that, which we'll try and conclude at the end. But the first attack took place up here near Novograd, which is more into the open part of the Adriatic, or the north part of the open Adriatic. And then two further attacks took place sort of in this area here. Close to the Rieka port, which is like the main port for Croatia in terms of import, export and fishing activities. It's a huge container port, even in the 1970s. So there's two attacks took place here, and then there was another attack took place further down the coast, closer to Omis, which is near to Split, which I think is like the capital city. So let's have a look. Let's just dive into the first attack. Well, actually, before we do that, let's look at some statistics as always. So yeah, Croatia's coastline sort of runs all the way down here, and it's about 1,100 miles of coastline, so 1,777 kilometers of coastline. But in terms of sort of like a ratio of coastline versus shark attacks, is exceptionally high. So there's been 26 documented attacks. The first attack, 1872, documented. The last attack documented was 2008, so not too far, not too long ago. But the insane thing is that of these 26, at least 15 of them were fatal, maybe even 18. There's one thing I've noticed with the Croatian information is very, very sketchy, and we'll again come onto that later in the video, because I think at some points they're maybe slightly disingenuous with where, you know, what you would call the truth. But we'll go into more detail. So the first attack, as mentioned, up in Novograd. So this attack was actually a non-fatal attack by a great white shark on a spear fisherman. So I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name, but I believe he was actually a Croatian national. Mr. Janinik, I don't know, but he was attacked while spearfishing in roughly 30 meters of water. It would have been 20 degrees, good visibility, but he was attacked, but luckily just got away with some leg injuries of this shark attack. So spearfishing, obviously a known activity where you're going to get interaction with sharks with the bait and stuff like that. So this guy was attacked in the 1970s. Then if we move forward into this bay, which is close to the Rieka port, which I mentioned is the largest port. This attack happened on Tuesday, September the 7th, 1971. This guy, Stanislav Kelpa, was a Polish national, 34 years old. He was swimming with a group of friends, or there was a group of 5 friends, and they'd gone down to the beach and entered the water. And at roughly 10:30 in the morning, he was attacked by a 5 metre great white shark in roughly sort of 10 to 20 metres of water depth. Again, good visibility, nice warm water, full moon, and the attack was fatal, unfortunately. So there's a little bit of narrative for this attack. So Stan was swimming in a small cove with his friend. He had some other friends on the beach, and they were swimming along, and then out of nowhere, great white shark comes up, attacks him from behind, grabs his leg. And he suffered such substantial injuries to his leg that he had just severe bleeding, and there was quite a lot of fishermen in the area, and they managed to pull him on board. But by the time they got him onto the side, he basically bled to death. So he was unfortunately killed by the shark. And then, in 1974, so 3 years later, so this attack is bizarre. So very little information. So all I can ascertain from this is that there was 2 potentially female swimmers. I'm honestly not even sure that they were female, male or female. They were swimming slightly further offshore, but in this same area. So in this same area, close to Rieka port, they were swimming in this harbour, but some ways offshore, so slightly deeper water potentially, so 100 metres of water depth, further out to shore. No idea what they were doing, but they were attacked by a great white shark, 2 people. So quite rarely you get a dual fatality, but it just, from what I read in various articles, that these 2 Czech tourists were swimming together and they were attacked by a shark, and it said that they sustained injuries that were fatal, and that's all the information that was given on this particular attack. And then further down the coast near Omis, in 1974, again this is August the 11th, again this attack has a little bit more detail. So this time a German tourist. He was swimming, and a 5-metre great white shark attacked him while he was swimming. And there was also an Italian tourist in the water who actually managed to fight the shark off somewhat, and managed to get this guy to the shore, but he died of his injuries on the beach. So again, these guys were swimming close together. There was some other people in the water, and he was attacked unluckily, and died of his injuries. And there's a few pictures here, because these are all large sharks that have come out of the Adriatic. So you can see by the size of these sharks. Let's just get this up. So I think this shark in the middle, this one in the middle here, was 2003. It's caught in some tuna nets, because there's one thing to mention is the sharks in the Adriatic historically have fed on bluefin tuna, but they also feed on other pelagic fish, rays, stuff like that, because there's no like marine mammals there for them to feed on like in other areas of the world. So there's mainly tuna, and that's one of the reasons why there's a decline in numbers possibly of great white sharks in the Adriatic and other parts of the Mediterranean, due to the depletion of tuna stocks, particularly 1970s, 80s and 90s. And actually this year is the only year for I think 40 years that they've actually put the quota back up for tuna, because the tuna stocks in the Med have made a bit of a recovery recently due to heightened regulations. So, which is obviously good news for the sharks. And this shark was close to 6 meters. This was a 6 meter shark, and this is the jaws of like an absolutely monster shark that was pulled out of the Adriatic. This shark was probably 6 meters as well. But what makes this this series of shark attacks interesting is the fact that there's some chatter that you can find in various scientific papers that potentially in 1974 there was as many as 9 fatalities, and I've shown like 3 but there could have been 6, or there possibly is 6 that were undocumented. And there's a few reasons for this, and the reason I think that they may have been covered up is because there's some funny things that were happening in the Mediterranean around that time. So I believe that around is it 1968, you had the 6-day war in Egypt that caused the closure of the Suez Canal. So the Suez Canal didn't reopen again until 1975. So potentially you had a backlog of ships that weren't going anywhere, and it's believed that this port area where you were getting all the attacks was definitely clogged up with vessels, or there was some correlation there definitely, or whether there was more vessels emptying bilge tanks into the area, drawing sharks into that bay. Certainly some correlation is there, and then also you had an influx of tourists, and I just find it funny that you definitely seeing a lot of tourists dying here. So like of those potential 9 fatalities in 1974 that possibly could have taken place, it was said that they were all tourists. So I just think that's insane. So it's whether or not these were reported or unreported, it's hard to say, but I definitely think there's something going on there, particularly like with that double fatality. It was almost like they didn't report it, just like in the film Jaws, where the local mayor trying to always downplay it, that you get that political side to it, where they're always going to try and downplay anything like that just because it have a massive effect on tourism. So you have all these fatalities on tourists that were happening, and I think what happened is they're just, with so many fatalities, they potentially may have stopped reporting them. And it's funny that the only people getting killed here were tourists. So there was no Croatians dying, because they obviously knew something was up. They weren't going in the water. So yeah, very, very interesting state of affairs here. And then it seems funny that 1974 there was like no attacks. Then there was no attacks reported, not until 2008. So there wasn't another single reported attack or fatality or anything until another tourist, a Slovenian guy in 2008. He was he was actually in exactly the same place as the other attack. Let's just go back. Yeah, so this attack here, this 1974 attack that happened in here. Sorry, no, go back one more. Yeah, this attack here. Yeah, so this 1971 attack where the Polish guy was swimming and he got killed by a 5-meter shark. If you fast forward to 2008, there was a Slovenian guy. He was attacked by a 5-meter great white shark, but luckily survived. He had severe injuries to his leg, but he survived. So yeah, it just seemed like as soon as 1974 was over, they seemed to turn the light off, and they just ignored anything that happened. So yeah, crazy set of statistics here. So I just find it unreal that you have so many fatalities in such a small area. And this area here, there's just so many sightings of sharks, or there were so many sightings of sharks. Obviously now they're more scarce in the Med, but yeah, I just think that this number here, 18 fatalities, is definitely a lot higher. Yeah, I mean, you know, if I went to Croatia, I would be a tourist. Would I go swimming here? Wouldn't have thought so. So yeah, but anyway, I think that's enough for today. But if you got any comments on why you think that correlation between the shutting of the Suez Canal potentially caused so many attacks, or why there were so many sharks in this particular area, yeah, I'd like to hear people's views. But anyway, see you next time.